And joining us in studio now to give details on this report are the authors of the report, Nina Babiars and Charles Langley from Public Watchdog. Now, both of you have been working on this effort for some time, and in this report, a 450-page report, there's a lot in it. But what should our listeners take away from this? What is the bottom line in this report, the greatest concern?
You know, Cliff, everyone breathed a sigh of relief when San Onofre shut down, and our big takeaway is it's more dangerous now than it was before.
And explain why that is.
It's more dangerous now because they've got a spent fuel situation with overcrowded spent fuel pools, and they have a deeply flawed plan for storing that waste temporarily on the site. And this flawed plan, in the process of getting it, they received massive and sweeping exemptions from emergency response planning, the capability that they no longer have at the site. And what that means is we're sitting on a situation where we could have a disaster there that's 40 times worse than Chernobyl with no way of responding to it. FEMA will not be there to respond. The California Office of Emergency Services will not be there to respond. And it's all going to be on the backs of local fire and police to deal with a major radioactive release.
You know, a lot of people who are beginning to hear of this report today are asking this question, Nina. How could this happen? I mean, we worry usually about over-regulation by the government to keep us safe, and yet it sounds like in your report that it's just the opposite.
Well, one of the reasons that we laid it out the way that we did, Cliff, in a timeline is so that we could show the documentation. And so, you know, we explained how it is we got here, both with the exemptions as well as some of the other fine points. This has transpired over the course of the last couple of years. And for example, what Charles was just referring to in terms of the emergency planning exemptions, Edison applied for those exemptions under the auspices that because the plant was closed, the risk was low. And the NRC accepted that statement on Edison's word. There was never really a proper professional risk assessment done with regard to putting 3.6 million pounds of radioactive nuclear waste in the ground on a beach, on an earthquake fault, in a tsunami zone, in the middle of 8.5 million people, beside the second busiest rail corridor in the United States and an interstate highway. That was never properly assessed. And so the NRC granted Edison those emergency planning exemptions simply based on the fact that the plant was closed.
Here's how bad it is, Cliff. They don't have to plan for any kind of terrorist attack because they've lowered the emergency status, the emergency level, to that of a medical nuclear research facility, which is ridiculous because what we've got are 75 canisters, each one with the equivalent of 9.3 nuclear warheads in terms of radiation. And it's a very, very dangerous situation. The entire ISFSI, the Independent Spent Fuel Storage Installation, is only going to be guarded by 3 people at any given time. And 2 of those are managers. So we've got basically 1 rent-a-cop and a couple managers.
Well, explain to our listeners, too, I mean, if something disastrous were to happen, I'm not sure what people believe could be the impact of that in terms of how localized it would be or how not so localized something like that would be. Give us an idea of what that would be like if anything disastrous like that would happen. I'm
originally from Pittsburgh, and I was living in that area in 1979 during 3 Mile Island. And so you're talking about that's one example that we should not forget, just like Fukushima, Chernobyl. 200,000 people were evacuated from their homes. So, you know, if you put that kind of a radius around such a highly densely populated area, and of course in Southern California, you're not just talking about a very conservative figure of 8.5 million people, but 2.5, 3 million tourists coming into the region.
Is there not have been discussion and a plan that has been negotiated or is being negotiated to actually move this fuel? What is and what are you doing? What needs to be done about this to change course on it?
Yeah, the law firm of Aguirre and Severson is going into negotiations because Edison, for the first time, and this is a major breakthrough, is saying they're willing to look at the possibility of another location. We believe that they're stalling. They're trying to keep this thing out of court. They're trying to keep it in secret backroom negotiations. And we're very hopeful. We're very hopeful that they'll find an alternative location. But they've already built this massive cement concrete bunker that is going to hold these 75 canisters. And these canisters are big. They're 20 feet high, 5 feet across. It's a huge, hundreds of millions of dollars has been spent on their storage solution so far.
Nina, we only have a couple of minutes left, but what do people who are listening to this, what do you urge them to do? What can people do? Who should they contact? What body should those concerns be sent to?
Well, a couple of things. First of all, they should look at the report. The reason that we did this report is to break it down in a way that people can understand, break down the acronyms so that people understand what they stand for, and direct some of that breakdown directly to the document so they can see for themselves. So when we're talking about these letters from FEMA, they're 1 or 2 page letters. They're very easy to understand, and we wanted to make them accessible to the public. The second thing is that public awareness is key to the fact that we still have time to stop this. Edison is now, they were originally planning to start burying this nuclear waste about 2 months ago. Now they've replanned for January of 2018. We want to get every single person aware of this situation, this risk to our community. And so we're urging people to tell everyone that they know, look at the report, see for themselves, pick up the phone, write a letter to the editor. But, we need to step up. This is...
And we do have an action guide on our website, but what will change this and change the entire dynamic is public awareness. When people find out what's really going on, they will not allow this to happen.
And where do people go? What are the website to see the report?
Publicwatchdogs, plural.org. publicwatchdogs.org.
Nina, Charles, thanks so much, and we will check in with you again to see how things progress over the next several weeks and months.
Thank you, Cliff.